Hello. Okay, I want to introduce you, but I'm not even going to try to like butcher your last name. So Anna is here with us, and I'm truly. We can hear the dog in the background. She's excited, but I'm so excited to have you. Like, this is going to be such a great chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Anna Przy, by the way.
Priz, yeah. I was like, no, like I can't. It's like that's hard.
No, you're fine.
But I'm so excited to have you. Like, how are you doing? What's new? And then we'll kind of like dive into, everything.
Currently I'm having the worst creative block of my life, but in
Oh,
general, things are good. Like to that point where you're like, something should go wrong, and it's so funny because we're so programmed for things to not go right that like
yeah.
nothing is wrong, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm
you're like
good.
just waiting for that shoe to drop. Like,
Yeah, but I'm actually very good currently. So yeah.
Good, good. I want to talk to you. So like I want to hear kind of how you got started and like what led you, of course, onto the journey of like talking so much about self-acceptance and just like the whole like keep it up cutie movement, like all of
Yeah.
this. Just how did you get into this?
It's so funny because I will answer your question, I
Yeah.
swear. But when I first started, it's actually how I got here. So
Yeah.
my entire journey online has been me kind of deconstructing everything I ever thought I knew. And
Mhm.
that started when the pandemic started, because I
Mhm.
lost my job and I lost my identity because my identity at that point in time was a workaholic who worked 7 days a week and like
Yeah.
wanted to be the boss. And then all of that was gone, and I was really not doing well. And so I started creating content as a reason to get out of bed, because my depression was through the freaking roof. And even though it didn't necessarily help. I remember one day I made a video and it was like, today we're going to try showering and getting ready and see if that makes like anything better.
Yeah.
And it was just like, nope. But I was up and showered
Yeah.
and ready. Um, but it was that journey. I just sort of was sharing what I was going through every step of the way. And this is a really, I don't even know if I've ever told this story. Somebody did a trend, and it was um picking your favorite content creators and giving them a character from Inside Out. Inside Out? Yeah.
Oh,
With the
cute.
the little feelings.
Yeah.
And this was a couple years ago, and she chose me as Sadness. And just to kind of paint that picture of like how far my journey has
Yeah.
been, to where, and then I laugh every time I get a comment now, and someone will be like, she should voice Happiness in Inside Out. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
yeah,
gosh.
and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it really was this long journey of being really really honest about what I was going through online.
Yeah.
And when you are raised to believe there's like only one correct way to go through your life, and I
Yeah.
was, it was kind of peeling that all apart, and it was realizing that without all of those identities and without all of these things I thought I needed to have to be happy, and sort of feeling joy and sort of feeling affection for myself, and it almost didn't make any sense to me because I wasn't doing it right anymore. and
Mhm.
and yeah, and so it was just this long journey of like, hey, did you know that your value is not your productivity? And like
Yes.
posting about it, and then being like, hey, did you know that being good at something and liking something are two different things? And like, and
Mhm.
just kind of as I went along, all of these little realizations I was having, and just sort of turning my, just kind of coming into my own in a very public way.
Yeah.
And now I just feel so lucky because I am really, I mean, obviously I struggle and I have terrible days and I'm in this creative slump, and
Yeah.
but I get to share with other people that like
Yeah.
the things that I've learned. And the other thing is I'm forced to learn and grow because I have to keep learning and growing in order to keep my
Yes.
platform going. And so
I love that.
it is so, yeah. And people are like, isn't that a lot of pressure? And I said no, because
Yeah.
when I don't want to do it, I walk away, or I,
Yeah.
go back to the things I know to be for sure,
Yeah.
and harp on those again. And I just I mean, I have to thank like TikTok for changing my life, and now I don't even like TikTok that much anymore. But it's so frustrating, and it's but it really did. It really took my life and flipped it upside down, and
Yeah.
I
And
would
so
say
many
like,
other lives, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
I know.
literally because all these women that find you and that follow you and like hear your message, like I what I love the most, I remember the first video of yours I saw, it was on Instagram and it was you like vacuuming on top of like a boat
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah,
"What is
yeah.
this?" But it's like you're just so authentic. And I think
Yeah,
that's like the thing is you're changing lives like just by showing up.
just as myself, yeah. And I
Mhm.
always say, somebody asked me the other day and they were like, "Isn't it hard like to show up online?" And I said, "I created an entire platform based on being myself." I was like,
Yeah.
"So so no, it's not hard to show up. It's hard to come up with
Yeah.
content to say, but it is not
Mhm.
hard to show up and do what I do when I'm
Yeah.
feeling it." And I even say like, I know it worked because it worked on me is what keeps me kind of going, and that like confidence that what I'm doing is important is like, Anna, your own life, like you wouldn't recognize yourself 4 years ago. Today is like, that's how you know.
Yeah, that's such a big deal. I wanted to ask you, like, you're kind of already heading in that direction, but I wanted to like really specifically ask you, like, what it feels like to show up really authentically in life, online, all of it, in a world that's truly like made for perfectionism. Like, we're always like talking, I'm always talking about how I think we're supposed to be like the cookie cutter, version of us. And we have to show up like this, and everybody has to look the same and drive the same thing. And it's like this perfect world that like doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
idea
down
of
to the like
perfectionism.
the clothes you wear and the way
Yeah.
that you act, and uh, how does it make me feel? Is that the question?
Yeah, just like how
Yeah.
like how does it feel to show up and be authentic? Like is there that tug of war sometimes? I know that obviously you've been authentic for so long that I'm sure you don't feel it like the
It
way that someone first starting would.
the actually being authentic comes very naturally now, but
Mhm.
that voice in my head that wants to apologize
Mm.
constantly will
Yeah.
still show up. Like, I show up as myself, acting like myself, being myself, dressed as myself, and then I'm apologizing to everybody in the room. Like, I'm so sorry that I'm like this. And then you're like,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah.
And so it is. I will get there. Like, I'm so much closer to it than I was, in being myself in all of the spaces that I want to be. Um but not so much like, so it really depends on the room, and I always say like some rooms just aren't for you, and now I create my own rooms, right? I create these rooms and I
Yes.
fill them with people who want to be in them with me. And like at my shows, I'm me. I was laughing. I had a show in Chicago this weekend, and I can't wait to get the footage back because there were so many times where I cracked myself up and then like I couldn't go on because I was laughing so hard. And I was like,
So
this
good.
is so unprofessional, and like
Mhm.
I don't care because
Yeah.
I'm having a blast, and I know that the
Mhm.
people in this room are here to have a blast with me, and that's what we're here to do. And same with on my trips. Somebody, I asked her, it is stressful, right? I host these trips and I take strangers around the world, and I
Oh,
like kind of
cool.
asked one of the girls on the trip, and I said, "Is it weird?" Like, I said, "Am I like you thought I'd be?" And she goes, "You're just like," she goes, "No, no." She goes, "You're exactly what I thought you'd be, except for more." Like,
Yeah.
and I was like,
That's
"Okay."
so good.
Because I often don't know how it's all going to translate. And my favorite thing that
Mhm.
people say to me is, "Oh, you're just you." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Mhm.
Correct. I
Like
am just me. I don't have the energy to fake it. I
yeah.
really don't. I am burnt out from a lifetime of pretending to be the perfect person that I should be, and
Mhm.
trying to impress people who were never going to like me anyway, and
Mhm.
trying to, I mean, I think of like the men I've dated and tried to force to love me, and you're like,
Yes.
Anna, it's it's not that
Yeah,
hard. It's like,
I
show up
know.
as yourself and see what happens.
And it's so crazy too when you look back on all the things that didn't work out, like you like totally like with love or with, relationships or even friendships. I look back and I'm like,
Yeah.
thank God that didn't
Yeah.
work out because I would be I would be miserable. Like at some point, the mask has to come off. You can't live your whole life faking it. And
Yeah.
then you're like totally faking who you are just to have this group of friends who are probably faking who they are. And it just like the cycle continues. It's like nobody wants that. You want to like let your bra off at the end of the day and just like chill and be yourself.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah. I love showing up. I love when it doesn't surprise me anymore that I show up as myself, right?
mhm,
And so like I
mhm,
don't think anything of showing up in a messy bun and sweatpants, and I mean, I built a
mhm.
studio on a bed. Like just
So good. So good.
um like I just am who I am, and it is funny when I get that reminder that when people are like, "I love this. It's so real." And you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Why wouldn't it be?" Like
Yeah.
I can't I c- ugh.
What what do you tell those kind of, like fans or followers or whoever they are, right? That come up to you and say that like, "Oh wow, like this is so different. Like I am not there yet." Like to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
woman who is just starting out and she's scared to be herself around her family, around she knows she's going to lose friends. She knows she's going to be judged. Like where would you tell that woman to start?
I mean, number one, I would say, just so you know, I've been working on myself for 17 years. Like,
Wow.
17 years ago, I kind of had the realization that, like, something was off, right?
Mhm.
And then it all didn't hit at once. I'd have a little revelation in my 20s and a little revelation in my 30s.
Ah,
But it wasn't until I lost my job that it was like, oh, I don't like who I've become.
mhm.
The other the thing, oh God, what would I tell somebody who's just
I know, because it's been a little while, you know?
it's every day. That's what I'd say.
Mhm.
It never ends, unfortunately. I have
Yeah,
this, it's like every day there are more things to do. And every
yeah,
day there's another day. And I think it's to just not burn out on doing everything at once, right? That's the other
yeah,
thing. It's like you can do things slow. You can like take your time. I even say in setting boundaries with friends and family, even if you
yeah.
think you might lose them, you might not. Um, I changed my relationship with my
Oh, that's
mother
interesting.
just by sort of slowly introducing, like, here's how I feel.
Yeah,
Here's how you make me feel.
yeah.
Here's
That's so
where I'm
hard.
going with my life. And it
Mhm.
was kind of that, like, I literally sat down with my mom to tell her that my life wasn't going to look like she thought. And and that was such a weird thing to do. It was during the
Yeah,
pandemic, and I was like, I just really need to talk to you because I'm really fearful to tell
mhm.
you that, like, I have decided to go in a new direction, and I have
Yeah,
decided not to have children, and I have decided, that I'm content in where I'm at, and that I don't really want to climb this ladder, and that I don't really
yeah.
want all of these things. But it's just being, and you will lose people. That's the hard
Mhm.
part. Unless you've already been yourself the whole time, and then
Yeah,
congratulations, I'm so proud
yeah.
of you. I think
I
I
know, right? Like, please DM us because we need to meet
Yeah,
you.
I think that would be
That is
so
so hard.
hard to do because we're a
Mhm.
product of our environment, and we're a
Exactly.
product of the access to information that we have. And,
Yeah,
for me, I didn't have the internet till kind of high school, really. And so
yeah,
you're like, I was going to be this, yeah, this businesswoman who was had the perfect body and the perfect life and the perfect car, and I was going to get married
yep,
young and have two kids, and you're just like
yep,
yeah, and
absolutely.
yeah, and to just kind of realize, like, wait, do I want any of that? And
Yeah.
all I say, and this is
Mhm.
almost impossible to do, right? But theoretically, like, what I would ask someone to do is, if you couldn't hear anybody else, if you had no idea what other people expected of you, or what society expected of you, or like, try really really hard to put yourself in a bubble, and, like, what do you want to do in there?
Yeah.
Like, and for me it's like, oh, I just want to be silly.
Mhm.
I want to play, and I always my I kind of knew who I was, right? But I never got to be her. And my senior quote in high school was, "The purpose of life is to fight maturity." And I read that as I crossed the stage. My mom was so mad at me, right? And I'm like, now, and
Of
I agreed with her after a couple years, right? I was like, "Oh, that was
Uh-huh.
so cringe." And now I'm like,
Yeah.
"No,
Yeah.
that is it for me, because the
Mhm.
person I want to be is the person I was when I was 4 years old." Like,
Mhm.
maybe
Right.
less crying, but some crying.
Yeah. No, just,
And
like, literally, just
yeah,
the version of you who's, like, not worried, like, before the world tells you who you're supposed to be, like, that version, like,
yeah,
who just herself fully.
yeah, yeah. It's like going from who you think you should be to like, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I don't really know who I want to be. That's the other thing that I think is so important. When I had a woman raise her hand the other day and she said, "Well, I'm in my 50s, but I don't really know who I am yet." And I said, "Stop right there." I said, "We don't have we're never going to know who we are." Like, and today
Mhm.
you is not tomorrow you, is not next week you, is not next month. Like, you I don't know why I get so hung up on like, I need to know who I am and what I want to do and what my dreams are. And it's like, "No, you don't."
Mm-mm.
Like, what do you want to do today?
Yeah,
How do
because we're
you
just constantly evolving.
Yeah, how do you want to feel
Mhm.
when you end today? How do you like, where do you want to be? And people are like, some of us have responsibilities." And I'm like, "We all have
Oh gosh.
responsibilities." I'm
Yeah.
not I'm just talking about in all of the moments of your life when you could make your life easier, or you could make
Yeah.
your life look more like you want it to look. It's those moments. It's when you come to a crossroads and one of the things would make you happier, but that's
Yeah.
not the traditional thing to do. It's like, "Hey, maybe try it.
Yeah.
See what
God, I
else
love
is."
that so much. My story is so similar, like how I just, grew up in this world of like watching, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, like all these, things. And I was like, I have to look like that. And what's hard for me is my sister does look like that. So I had that extra pressure like within my family of
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why don't you look like your sister? And why aren't you like her? And I'm like, well, first of all, like I just don't look like her. I'm heavy. I'm dark hair, dark features, all the things. And I grew up truly just like hating myself. And then it
Oh,
went to
yeah.
all those external things, like you were saying, of like the two kids, the perfect car, this kind of body. I have to have this particular job. I wanted to be like this high up, whatever. And it's just so crazy how like now, as you start to shed those expectations or those beliefs, I'm just like, gosh, I can be really happy and have none of those things that I thought I
Yeah,
had to have on my
and that's
list.
a really I mean, that's a really hard realization. It wasn't. It
Hard.
was it was
Yep.
that like moment in the pandemic when I was like, I should be depressed, right? I should be depressed,
Mhm.
right? I lost my job and I have no money,
Yeah.
and I was like, I should be sad, and I was like, and yet I don't think I am.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't something wasn't adding up, and it was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, not to not to alarm you. Maybe this isn't the life you wanted."
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
totally fine. It's totally fine, like, you don't have to live that kind of life, and it's, like, letting go of those expectations, but then, for me, it's, like, that second layer, like you were talking about, of, like, how do I tell my mom that, like, I'm not gonna be who she thought I was
Yeah,
gonna
how do
be?
I tell my mom
Yeah,
I'm not going to be the CEO?
it's, like, so scary because
She's kind of banking on that for us too.
right? Seriously. And yeah, they just want what's best or what they think is the best for us, And like I look back to even like in high school, like when I was really body shaming myself,
Mhm.
and my parents played a part in that for sure. But I look back and I'm just like, I understand that that's because, they have the belief that that's how, their kids fit into society and they're just trying to protect you and trying to help you. But now I have so much to unpack and like work through.
Yes. So, I mean, in that vein, like my family is I grew up with two elite athletes as parents.
Oh
Um
gosh.
so
That's a lot of pressure.
I got very messed up, right? I got very turned
Mhm,
around about what life was
mhm.
supposed to look like for a person. Uh, um but then when I also think about the way my parents spoke to me, and the way that they treated food around me and all of that,
Mhm.
it's like I said, we are a product of our environment. And I have met my parents, right? And
Oh
and think of this, my grandma, she's unfortunately she is dying this week, but it's
my god.
going to be like
Yeah.
it's time and she's ready.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh,
she
mine
got
just passed as
she
well.
got
That's crazy.
caught in her assisted living facility with diet pills.
Still.
She's 95.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just so ingrained.
And the last time my dad hung out with her, he told me this last night, that she said, he was like, "Why did you have the diet pills, Mom?" And she goes, "Well, they're feeding me 3 meals a day."
Wow.
And I'm
Yep.
like, "Yep, that is where I came from.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yep.
is the way I was raised." And it's true. My grandma had every diet pill known to man on the counter. I mean, she did live to 95, but I don't think it was the ginkgo and the green
Yeah.
tea extract and the every everything you can buy on the TV. But
But it's so true. It's like the product of the environment. Like you start to see like where it comes from, and it's so much work. Like I give a lot of grace to like the way that I became who I am, right? Like when you look back at all of that. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes for me personally, it feels heavy to be
well,
like,
it's
I
hard
have
to
to overcome
grind.
all of
Yeah.
this. Yep.
Unlearning is 1,000 times harder than learning,
Hmm.
especially when you've been hearing the same thing for 30 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
I know everything in my life has told me I need to go that way. And it's like, but
Yeah.
I am not gonna.
Yeah.
No
Yeah. Yeah.
pressure. I don't feel stressed at all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly.
yeah, that is the hard part, is being like, I'm doing this my own way. And then there's like some pride in that too. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm making this up as I go along, and that's cool. But then you feel guilty for thinking you're cool, because
Hmm.
you need to be self-deprecating. You can't be a fan of yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole life is conflicting.
Hmm. Yeah,
but
it's so
it's
much.
but it's choosing to be proud of yourself, or choosing to be excited about who you are, or choosing to be however it is, and then kind of sticking to it and knowing that it's not going to feel that way every day. That's the other
Hmm.
thing. Sometimes you're just
Yeah.
going to be crying on the floor.
I love that you say that. Yeah. No, it's so true. And I love too, like, that's one of the biggest things that I think draws so many of us to like you and your content is like the fact that you're able to make it like funny. Like you bring the humor to, to this whole entire concept because sometimes like I don't even want to call it like the self-help world, but just like
Right.
in general, like working on yourself, like it can feel so freaking heavy. It's like I have to read like 50,000 books and I have to go do this course and this retreat. And it can become so much. And I love how you're just such a breath of fresh air to just be like, girl, like it's
It's because
okay.
I know how annoying it is, right? I don't
Yes.
want to go to 10 retreats, and I don't want to read
Hmm.
30 books. I want like I want somebody to yell at me for 30 seconds a day,
Yeah.
and like do something weird about it, and then I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
if I learned one thing today, it's whatever that lady said.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
being awfully noisy about it. And then I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, I can't believe I didn't realize this till my 50s, and like I'm too late." And I'm like, "You're not too. You can learn it today." And then I go,
Mm-hmm.
"I learned it today. I'm just being really loud about
Yeah.
it." I'll tell
Yeah.
you I learned something the minute I learn it, right? That's the other thing. It's all in real time. It's none of
Yeah.
this is I'm not stewing on it. I might take it back in the future. I mean, I
Yeah.
I could cringe so much at some of my old content where it's
Mhm.
just like, but it's all necessary. It's how I got here.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I know I love it when people always say that, like, "Oh, don't ever listen to your first episodes of your podcast or this or that." And I'm like, "You know what? Sometimes I do." And it does for a minute. I'm like, "Oh, we just cringe." But it's like, "You know what? No. Like this truly is like how you got here." And same thing I think to anybody listening whose like path has completely 180'd and now they're doing, like I don't want the kids or I don't want the white picket fence or I don't want this or that anymore. It's like the same concept. It's like it's okay that you had those thoughts. It's okay that you were on that path. And like
Yeah.
it's not too late to start. It's not too late to flip it. Like that's all natural. Now we get to just like focus on moving forward, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I have to look back on my life and know that I was conservative and a
Hmm.
little bit weird, and be like, you had the
Yeah.
information you had, okay?
Yeah.
I I
Yeah.
saved us, so you're fine, but It was a long life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it could have, and it's just so crazy how it could have been so different. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want before, like, we get to, like, all of the things, I definitely wanna talk about, like, Keep It Up, Cutie, like, where did that come from? That's so adorable, I love it.
Everything that I do is just either what I want to hear or what I wish somebody would have told me.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
my whole life. Every time you're talking to somebody about like doing better or doing more, they're like encouraging you to do more, 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 more. And I'm like, "No. Why
Mm.
can't you just tell me I'm doing good today right here? I need a little bit of encouragement today. I need you to tell me to keep it up today,
Yeah.
right where I'm at." And it's just things people don't say to you, and that's all it is, and that's why it has the impact it has. Is people are
Mhm.
like, I
Mhm.
didn't know how much I needed somebody to tell me to keep it up today. And I'm like, yeah, and that's what I'm here for, because I
Yeah.
didn't know it until I started saying it to myself too.
Yeah.
And that's what I the other thing, and not to be like self-centered, but but I'm like, the content's for me, by the way.
So good.
The content is for me. Like, my number one fan is me.
Mhm.
Nobody consumes my content as much as I do, because
That's
they're the
so
reminders I need. There
Mhm.
there was a time when I took a break. I don't know that I ever read my book, right? I read it like when I wrote it, and that was it. And like a month ago I sat down and read it, and I was like, "Wait, this is very good and
Yeah.
very helpful." I said, "Who
Mhm.
wrote this book?" This has so many good words in it. But no, it's just, we need it, and we need it more than we think we need it. We
Mhm.
need someone to be kind to us, and we need someone to tell us you're doing good right where you are. And I don't care that you showed up to the birthday party in sweatpants.
Yes. Yes,
Me
exactly.
yesterday.
Dude, same. Yes. It's so good. Yeah.
I just think life is hard enough, and that's the other thing. And when we even talk about keep it up, cutie, it's just, think about. I mean, I just know so many people in my life who have, attempted suicide, or thought about it, or I just know so many people in the, I don't know, the
Mhm.
depression space. I
Mhm.
and it's so, think about if we from day one were celebrating all your tiniest wins. And I always, it's that joke, it's that everybody wants a participation trophy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe they don't get it for athletics, but why can't we be more excited about people getting out of bed? And why can't we be more excited for people who
Yeah.
brushed their teeth today? I sure didn't. Or,
Yeah.
like it I know how hard these things can be when life is lifing. And
Yes.
I just want people to know they're not alone. And I get a lot of, that's like the only thing I get pushback on. They're like, "You're gonna make everybody lazy." I'm like, first of all, that's not a thing.
Mhm.
People need rest.
Mhm.
People haven't taken
Girl.
rest.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on a podcast, and somebody, he goes, "I'm lazy, so I didn't look you up, but I want you to tell me about you." And I said, "Well, first of all, you're not lazy." I said,
Yeah.
"That's just efficiency." Because I said, because I'm going to tell you anyway. And
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just, and I love that I get to do that in real life, and to keep it up cutie stuff I get to do in real life. But it's also about reframing when somebody says something, or somebody's self-deprecating, or somebody calls themselves lazy, and I'm like, "Hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey, what?"
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm like, "You're raising two children, and you're sitting on the couch watching a movie with them making memories. That's not lazy.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah.
coziest thing I can think of." What? Because you're not doing an activity? You are doing an activity. You're spending time with them. We
Yeah.
see it everywhere. Everybody's so hard on themselves, especially parents.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and they're the ones who push back the most. And I get that, because if you're not ready to hear from me, you're not ready to hear from me.
Yeah. So
and
good.
and that's, I know, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
You're
I
fine,
drank
it's
a
great.
monster
I'm
before
like, "Please
this.
talk."
I
You're
do not.
ready.
I don't drink Monster. Okay, it's definitely having an effect on me. But yeah, I'm always say I'm like the girl in Mean Girls. It's just like, I just have a lot of feelings. And it's like, I do have a
Mhm.
lot of feelings. I have a lot of feelings
Mhm.
about the way people treat themselves, and all of that just comes from the
Yeah.
way I treated myself my
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah. It's so crazy how once you like, I am a firm believer, like, the work's not done, like, and that's not in a bad way, like, not like there's some
No.
big, huge uphill, it's just that we're constantly evolving. But once you get on the other side of, I think, the majority of it and you start to see your own thought patterns change, it's just so, I don't know, like, the word I want to say, like, it's so crazy, but like, it's just like the best feeling. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you start
yeah.
to see that, change, and you're like, okay, let me reframe some of these beliefs or some of these thoughts that I'm having of, like, yeah, like the laziness. It's like, no, I don't have to be productive 24/7. Like, self-care is productive. Like, I'm allowed to rest. Like, I'm allowed to take care of
Uh-huh.
myself. Yeah.
Yes, you can take a 15-minute nap. It's like
Hmm.
when people say,
Oh, so
people
good.
will ask, how do I get up and go when I'm not feeling motivated? And I said, do you have to?
Yeah.
Do you
Hmm.
have to? Like, where are you at? Is it necessary? Like, because my answer is if I'm like, I'm exhausted and all I want is like 80 ounces of coffee, it's like, hey, you might actually just need rest.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
that might not be the answer. And I know it's hard, and people are like, we have to work hard and make money, and I'm like,
Yeah.
believe me, I've never worked harder in my life than I am right now. But you can change the way it looks, and you can redefine your
Hmm.
relationship with these things, and reframe
Hmm.
and redefine things. And it
Yeah.
is even giving myself like the patience. Even today, I have just debilitating ADHD, and I caught myself just kind of going nuts and running from like one task to the next. And
Hmm.
it's instead of being like, focus, like, oh my God, I was like, well, it all has to get done.
Yep.
I I'm gonna clear a paper off this desk, and then I'm gonna run to the living room and put
Yep.
these pants in the basket, and I'm gonna, it's all good. It's all gotta
Yeah.
get done. Then I'm gonna run downstairs and clean the basement toilet for,
Yeah. Yep.
whatever is striking me. And it's just that, it's just being so kind and gentle to yourself,
Mhm.
even in those hard moments when you need to get the work
Mhm.
done. It's like, we're doing it. It doesn't have to look one way.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's being kind to myself, and then also things that don't exhaust me. Building the life I want. It's like, yeah, I have to work really hard for it,
Mhm.
but none of it's as exhausting as
Mhm.
living an entire life that didn't fit me,
Yep.
or trying to be the person everybody else wanted me to be, or, going to a job that was sucking the soul out of my body every day. Even if I kind of liked it, it didn't mean it was the right thing for me to be doing. I don't know. Choose a smilier path. Give yourself a hug and stuff.
Yes. I love it. Okay, so you're starting your tour. Like, you're literally doing shows all over, except, like, when are you coming to the West Coast? Because I did not see anything for the West Coast, my friend.
I really hope to be coming back. So it's been a little bit of a journey because my agent is going through IVF, and so she's like,
Um,
yeah, and I'm like, you do
yeah.
you, but
Yeah.
yeah, right now it's like I have nothing on the horizon. I'm actually terrified, and I'm like, she's coming back. Like, it's okay. You're going to have shows again. Um
Yay.
because I did the West Coast in March of 2020 this year. So I should be back
Oh, yeah.
early next
Okay.
year. So hopefully I'll know by the new year where I'm
Yay.
going next, because I don't have anything on the horizon.
So
I
we'll be
just finished up
watching.
this year of shows. Yep. I'm
Yeah.
like, please. But the live show is so fun. I never know what's gonna come out of my mouth. It's the best.
It's awesome. I know. I cannot wait. So we'll be watching for that. And then can you just tell us a little bit about your book for anybody who hasn't
Yes.
seen it yet or anything? I know it's right there on your Instagram. So, like,
Yep.
definitely check out her IG. It's pinned right there, but tell us a little bit.
It is like taking a walk through my brain. It really
Awesome.
is. It's it's a flip to any page, and none of it's not relevant ever, right?
Mm,
It's 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 my content on paper. It's it's just, I call it a not quite self-help book. Just kind of like how my content is not quite self-help, because I know
yeah.
how annoying it would be to read a paragraph like, here's what you need to do to
Yeah.
fix your life. Instead, I'm like, eat a cheeseburger. I don't know.
So good. I
It
love
does
it.
say
That's
eat
so
a
awesome.
cheeseburger in that book, but it's also like manifesting rest and mac and cheese, and just just trying to rest and
Yeah.
recover from your life. And
Seriously.
to me, when I read it now, it's like all the stuff I'm constantly saying. But when I
Mhm.
hear from other people, they're like, "Oh my god, every page was something I had never thought about." I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I forget that." Like
Mhm.
it's only been 4 or 5 years, and I still forget like how much I've changed my own brain.
Yeah.
And even when people ask, it's like I'm constantly saying this stuff, and I'm constantly consuming my book and my media, and I'm
Mhm.
writing this daily morning show. And um it's like every day I am just constantly reminding myself these things, and my brain has changed so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just reinforcing, like, constantly doing, doing the work and, like, practicing what you preach and all of that, right? Like, you
Mhm.
then become that whole new version of yourself.
It is nuts that it works.
Mhm.
People are like,
Yeah.
how do you believe what you're saying? And I'm like, I said it enough times.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, like, you're
That
walking the walk.
at
Yeah.
some point it sounded true to me, and I was like, wait a second,
Yeah.
I think I might be right.
Yeah, you're like, "I'm gonna eat that cheeseburger. I'm good." Okay, and your
Yeah.
morning show. So speaking
Yes.
of that, tell us everything and anything else coming up where we can
Yes.
get more of you.
Right now my morning show is like my that's what I'm pushing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it is Monday through Friday, a weekday morning show. It's just five
Cool.
minutes. It drops at like 4 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So
Wow.
even my girls in the UK get it by 10 a.m. Um,
Nice.
but I record it the day before. I don't get up early.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it is five quick segments to get your day started, and then of course because it's my show, the theory is it's your cure for the morning snooze or not. This is your
Oh,
life. You get to decide.
I love that.
So the idea is you can either listen to it and get up and go, or listen to it and go back to bed. I'm
Mm.
not judging you either way.
So
But the first segment is the theme of the day. So we have Motivation Monday, Trauma Tuesday, Wellness
cute.
Wednesday, Think About It Thursday, and Fuck It Friday. And
Yes.
then and then Daily Dose of Prisms, where I read a page of the book. What's the moon up
Cool.
to? I know nothing about astrology or astronomy, so this is actually a comedy segment. Uh
Mhm.
where I where I talk about what the moon and the stars are doing, and what that means for your day.
That's awesome.
And then it's you ask, I try to answer, I answer questions. I
Cool.
like weekly put up a box on my Instagram, and then I answer those on the show. And then thing of the day, and the thing of the day is a thing you have to do today. And it's usually like
Oh,
brush your teeth or drink some water, or I make you repeat after me. Those are my favorite. And I
so
make you
good.
say nice stuff to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's just a fun, and it's usually about 7 or 8 minutes. It's supposed to be five, but I don't keep track. So, and it's just a great. It's $3 a month for 5 episodes a week.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then, but it's free if you just want to watch Fridays.
Oh,
So,
how
but you still
cool.
have to subscribe to my Patreon to get the
Okay.
free ones also. But it is
Okay.
called 5 More Minutes, Your Cure for the Morning Snooze, and it's so fun.
Oh, I love it. Okay, yes. I'll make sure everything is linked below too because we have to check that out. That sounds amazing. Is there anything else coming up that you want to share or
Does this come out before the holidays?
yeah, I'll probably actually do it next week.
Okay,
So,
so the book is I'll show you since you can see. It's the best gift. Like it is
that's
so
perfect for
it's like
Christmas.
it's the perfect Christmas present for
Oh, how
literally
cute.
anybody. And people are always like, "Is it okay for like my teen?" And I say, "Only if you don't mind swears." Like then yes,
Mhm.
it's perfect for them.
Yeah.
Um it's just it's its first holiday season because it came out in February. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm like I'm I'm the worst self promoter, but
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
somebody, this cracked me up. Somebody today commented, "You need to write a book called Keep It Up Cutie," and I was like,
I'll go look at my page.
"I I did," and I'm like, "Am I this bad at telling people I
I
wrote a
know.
book?" So
I
yeah, so
know.
I wrote this book and it's good, and you should get
Yeah.
it. I know it's good because I read a page every day on my show. I'm
So,
actually almost done with the book, and then I don't know what I do after that. I think I just
yeah.
start over,
Start
maybe.
it over. Yeah. 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 That's so awesome. Well, okay, I just have the last question I always ask everybody is if you could give like one tangible self-care tip, to the audience, like what could somebody go and just do right now to like take care of themselves?
I mean, my number one is always brush your teeth, but
Yeah.
that is because with my mental health, that is the hardest thing in the world for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like my least favorite. But like a non-tangible thing that's more of like looking at
Mhm.
your life is that your life doesn't have to look like anything you've ever seen before.
So good.
So
Yay.
every time you go to do something, it can look like whatever you want.
Yeah. So good. Do it your own way. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I
Thank you
just
for
can't wait.
having me. Sorry I said
Yeah.
so many words.
No, you're good. This is so fun. I stopped